Super Bowl Sunday, and I am playing with science fiction. I'm not surprised. Today will be a review of The Long Twilight by Keith Laumer. The first book publication was by Putnam, 1970, I believe, but we're going to check that. And The Long Twilight was first serialized as And Now They Wake in Galaxy magazine, March, April, and May 1969. I read this great novel in these exact magazines in monthly installments at 14. March 1969, And Now They Wake, Galaxy Science Fiction by Keith Laumer. My book's not in the greatest shape, but it's still quite legible. Illustrated by Gone, and the magazine was edited by Frederick Pohl, Judy Lynn Benjamin, and Lester Del Rey. And they do their usual great job. Here we are with April 1969, And Now They Wake, Keith Laumer, illustrated by Gone. Here's one of the illustrations. And there are not a lot of illustrations in the magazines, but there are several. May 1969 is the conclusion of And Now They Wake, renamed The Long Twilight, for book publication. There is one illustration, several illustrations in here, and you'll see why they kind of look like Norse mythology here shortly. And this is another illustration from the book. And there's not much difference that I can tell between the magazine and the novel versions. Here is my old paperback version. The original paperback that I had did not survive. This is a Berkeley book, and it says originally published 1969 by G.P. Putnam, and I believe that was a hardbound. Berkeley Medallion Edition, which is what I used to have, May 1970, and I have this Berkeley from September 1982, and it is still in pretty good shape. But I came across a essentially brand new copy of a Baen on Amazon. And this is The Long Twilight and Other Stories. And this book was still in the shrink wrap when I received it a few weeks ago. We have The Long Twilight, 4 short stories, and another Laumer novel, Night of Delusions. I don't want to say too much about this book, but this is a very interesting book. The book is written a little episodically, and Laumer has used that technique occasionally in his writing. Here's a background and story synopsis. Laumer uses Norse mythology as a foundation for the story with major changes. This Thor and Loki are closely linked military personnel humans, but they are from off-world. They're not from Earth. They are engineered, physically superior humans fighting a war against an ancient enemy and are scouting the Earth for tactical and strategic purposes. They're almost immortal. Gralgrathor, Thor, arrives about a decade before Lokrien, Loki, in their AI starships. The AI starships have personalities and are very motivated to win the war at any cost for their homeland, Ysar. The ships can also create constructs which the locals around Bjornholm decode as trolls and other monsters. Loki arrives in his starship Zyx after a long search for Thor. It's about 10 years, and on Earth time. He expects Thor to pack up. Thor has gotten married and has children, one child, He expects Thor to pack up, leave his family, and return to duty. Thor says no, he cannot leave, and takes Loki to his home to meet his wife, Gudrid, and young son. Loki is adamant about their leaving to get back in the war. Thor says he needs to take a walk to consider all this. While Thor is walking, and he leaves Loki in the house he thinks asleep, something or someone kills Thor's wife, Gudrid, and their son almost immediately. Thor is, of course, wild with rage and tracks down Loki in his ship, and he severely damages Loki's starship named Zix. Zix is a self-aware AI. Zix manages to throw Thor out and Zix discusses with Loki the need for Loki to come up with a means to repair the ship, which is severely damaged, and they will need to nudge Earth into developing the technology to accomplish this. Zix will be dormant most of the repair time to conserve power. So we have at this point Thor, who has always had a moral compass, consumed with anger and purpose to take revenge on Loki. Loki, who has more of a duty and procedure compass, trying to nudge humanity into developing the technology to repair Zix. And we go through about 2,000 years of history here. And after 2,000 years, Loki has kind of lost interest in this. And this is roughly around the time of the U.S. Civil War. So Zix is only aware from time to time during the millennia. All these millennia, but he is also working toward a means to effect repairs and influence what's going on Earth to get what he wants. Now he really wants to carry out his mission on Earth, which will destroy our planet. And Thor simply would not carry out that mission. Thor and Loki have thousands of years to mature and learn to be better people. Zix has no concept that time is passing while he is dormant, and he makes no inroads towards growth and maturity. In roughly 2,500, maybe even 3,000 years, we're really not clear on how long this has been. But all this time seems like almost no time to him. As a matter of fact, I think he's only awake about 6 months of this time, so he does not understand what Loki and Thor are talking about when they all become awake again. So Laumer begins the novel with both main characters, and again this is a little bit episodically, and there are multiple flashbacks, with both main characters, Loki and Thor, having more or less forgotten their origins. It's just been too long. But the U.S. has developed a broadcast power system, and there's all this preparation, and they switch it on. That action triggers all of the Ysarians, Thor, Loki, and Zix, to come awake and remember their past. And now Zix has always remembered the past. The story is complex, really pretty grim, historical, psychological, technological, and with quite a bit of social commentary. And it is also a very fast-moving action story. Memory and identity are examined throughout the story. This is a cautionary tale along the lines of Dinosaur Beach, comparing and contrasting what the various characters consider the most important concepts in life. Now, Grail/Thor, he thinks duty to the individual and family, being a parent with moral authority and civilization, is the most important aspect of life. Gudrid, his wife, family. She wants to be a parent, have moral authority and civilization. And another woman Thor meets 2,500 years after Gudrid. Again, family, parent, moral authority, civilization. Falconer Loki. Loki's prime goal, prime interest is duty to the mission. His thoughts have become tempered by time and experience, and he has an evolving mind. He's still a law and order and moral authority person. Zix. Zix has had no time to mature. Duty as a destructive absolute. He is a dead-end egomaniac. We meet some more people. John Zabiskie. Loyalty and duty as an inheritance. John is a fictional descendant of real historical figure John Sobieski, the hero king of Poland. Hardman, a prison warden. He is kind of a combination character of all these folks. He's actually a decent person, but he makes one drastic error in judgment, and he corrects it later, but it's too late. Harman, or possibly Harm Man, another egomaniac, another prison character, employee, and he has no moral authority, and the only authority he believes in is government authority. Laumer often wrote female characters who were either anchors of stability or sources of immense guilt for the protagonist. Now, I will stop here, and everything else I'll say will be a spoiler alert. I'm just saying that we'll just be spoiling the book if you want to read it. But I do include all this text describing what I think is going on with Laumer's great story here. And if you want to, you can read that. It's about a page. And I hope everyone's having a great evening and has a good time watching the Super Bowl. Thanks a lot.